Max Backer, and I'm a gender non-binary human being. And I have indeed existed beyond the boundary of gender for as long as I can remember, or long before I knew the word gender non-binary for sure. And that's given me a lot of time to have tried and subsequently failed to fit in within this pink and blue world. In 1976, Audrey and Rich wrote the line, "No one has imagined us." She was speaking at the time to lesbian invisibility, that through a heterosexual lens, lesbian queerness remains on the outskirts of our own imagination. I liked this line so much that I had it tattooed on my left arm below an anatomical heart on my sleeve. It just spoke to me, to how I felt about my gender, how I felt about my sexuality, just how I felt about myself in general. So I'd like to take you along on a journey through a history of my gender expression, starting in childhood. Now before I start, I want you to know that I'll only be talking about my gender identity today, which is the personal sense of one's own gender. Now this can or cannot correlate to the sex you were assigned at birth. And when I say sex assigned at birth, think genitals. Now stop thinking about genitals. It's fucked up. Also, gender identity, you don't have to be LGBT to feel at odds with your own gender identity. Certainly we shouldn't have all the fun. Now I don't know why I am the way I am, but there's some theories, of course. Nature will tell you that an influx of male or female hormones, estrogen or testosterone in utero, can affect the way someone's gender identity turns out. Sounds like a way to blame moms, if you ask me. Now, I was assigned female at birth, which came to relief to my mother because she had just had 3 sons in a row. The last one came in at almost 11 pounds. How she had a 4th child, I'll never know. Joke was still on her, but she had her daughter. Now, nature will tell you, because I grew up with those 3 boys, I just picked up the way they are. Well, a lot of people have brothers. I can see holes in both theories. I also don't care. Most kids figure out their gender around 3 or 4. Now, I had both masculine and feminine attributes. We'll do masculine first. I loved my brothers and I looked up to them, especially the one closest to my age, Trevor. We did everything together. We bathed together, we played sports together, basketball, football, full contact, mind you. Baseball, WWF wrestling, it's called WWF back in the day. Full contact, I'll add. We played video games when he'd let me, and we were just very aggressive and competitive with each other, just like you'd think 2 stereotypical little boys. But I was also very feminine. I was emotional, I cried a lot, I was very sensitive, I loved my mommy, and I loved to dance, still do. Now you'd think I would be taken aback by those ballerina outfits that I had to wear, but it turns out I like drag. But I was still at odds with my body and how I felt inside. As you can see, I'm the only one topless in this gaggle of kids. And when I had to start wearing a shirt, I was really mad because my brothers didn't have to, and as far as I could see, we had the same 10 anatomical parts. Couldn't bathe with Trevor anymore, probably for the best. And basically, I just consistently did not fit in. And I couldn't stay over my friend Brandon's house, that's right. I couldn't stay over my friend Brandon's house because he was a boy and I was a girl, and that logic was a fallacy to me. And of course, I couldn't join Boy Scouts, which still bothers me. I had to join Girl Scouts, which involved cookies and sewing, neither of which I had any interest in. Oh, but you know what happens next. Yeah, shit gets real. Puberty! Everyone's fave. Let's sit with that. So puberty happened, I was faced with a very biological reality when I got my period. I was so traumatized and in denial of this, I hid it from everyone I knew for a year. For a whole year, I went in hiding on that. Not normal, as it turns out. When I had to wear a training bra, I would feel physically ill. My body was changing and I couldn't trust it anymore. But I grew up in the 90s. Baggy pants, flannels, everything. Horrendous hair. I could at least hide my changing body underneath some of these big baggy clothes. I still did boy things, I still did girl things. But you know what happens next. High school, sink or swim time. I try to date boys, lol, to try to fit in. Because I'm also running away from something else. I'm a whole gay. Now, I came out when I was 15, without therapists, without a support group, without the internet, without LGBT positive role models in my life, and without my consent, because I was outed publicly by adults in my high school. And the trauma that that caused cemented my desire to be a mentor, to be a teacher, to be a professor, but it almost killed me. I did survive high school because I knew something better was coming. And I also survived high school by a couple of good friends of mine, straight female friends, who said, we'll get you through, we'll teach you how to do some makeup, we'll fix your hair, we'll put you in that white gown. But if you've ever seen someone's human cells going farther to the right from a male body with their arm around me, you let me know. Act 3, college. Oh yeah. So I went to an all-women's college. Yeah, it was like I was in a liberal bubble. And I finally could be who I was. I started exclusively wearing men's clothing, listening to masculine, albeit sensitive, emo music, and dabbling in my own version of toxic masculinity, if we're going to be honest. I was dating in an exclusive butch femme binary because clearly I was the boy. But it was at Wells College that a women's studies professor, of course, did a spontaneous Q&A session with a transgender guy. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. This was the first time in the flesh I'd actually seen a transgender person. So who was this unicorn in front of me? How dare he? I was fascinated and I was appalled, complete abject moment. He was tall, slender, androgynous physique, yet he had big, beautiful feminine eyes, only slightly changing in medical transition. But I was only in my 20s, early 20s to be fair. My frontal lobe hadn't even fused. It was hard enough to be a butch lesbian. I couldn't be that brave, so I had to file that one away for later. And I just went full steam ahead into the 20s, out of that liberal bubble of Wells College. I was still trying to fit in though, real bad. I just wanted to be liked. For instance, I actually once, while I was in my mid-20s, let my sister-in-law dress me up like I was a mid-40s soccer mom. I mean, it was her wedding, but come on. I was looking for proper, acceptable butch lesbian archetypes to reach, so naturally, Shane from the L Word. It's uncanny. Was that too niche, gay? No? Then came grad school. Grad school. I was finally being pushed into my queer scholarship further, and that was affecting how I felt about my personal self, like good academics do. I realized that lesbian wasn't going to fit for me anymore because it denotes female gender identity, so I started using the word queer. queer was kind of an umbrella term for me that covered anything that was non-normative and non-straight. And like only a grad student can do, I declared, "Gender is over," with a black and white short film, where I actually took my brother's body and would put it over my own body to create a lot of visual confusion. And then I met my wife after grad school. And I remember when she was living in Boston and I was trying to convince her to move back to Rochester to date me, I would write long emails to her, and sometimes if I felt brave, I would sign it Max. She never questioned this. She's never judged me. She's always accepted who I was, and that's why we've been together 10 years. Now, well, when I turned 30, I got that community that I was looking for. I became a slam poet. And I finally got to surround myself with artists, performers, and people, again, folks who were accepting me for who I was. In 2012, I did Lambda, which is a queer-only writers retreat in Los Angeles. And now I had friends who were just like me, performers who were just like me, and I went in as Max, and I never came back. And the two women that I'm flanking to my right have a lot to do with that. They're still good friends of mine. And then I became a professor. And this is where things come full circle for me. Because I could finally be the mentor and the teacher and the professor that I didn't have. And it's honestly this class, the trans studies class that I taught last semester. The first trans studies class at St. John Fisher College. And it's with their open hearts. It's with their open hearts that I finally started living my authentic self. Because I was only Max the performer, Max who will be Max when you let me be Max, and I wasn't joining the two, they hadn't coalesced. But how could I be what they needed me to be if I wasn't going to be that authentic self for them? So this year is the first year I've been living by Max full time. Maxim Sarah Backer, born Megan, no longer ashamed. So my intention is twofold. I can't go back and tell that kid she's okay. Not only are you okay, but you're awesome. Be a caterpillar or a frickin' butterfly, you weirdo. Go get it. I can't do that, but I can sit here on this weird stage that I've been given and do something I've looked for in other people all my life. The validation to exist. Today I give myself the validation to exist as I am. And two, we are surrounded with a lot of anti-trans, anti-queer, hate speech, rhetoric, proposed legislation. Educate yourselves. We cannot let this happen. We cannot. And if you're in education, or if you're a parent, or whatever, we have to normalize, honor, and celebrate full gender expression, especially in kids, and especially within ourselves. So, if you found yourself, even just a little bit, relating to what I'm saying to you today, because you too have been forced into gender roles and told to act right or else, congratulations. You are humans too. Thank you.